Most of us start our journey toward self-improvement the same way, with a burst of intense, white-knuckled motivation. We decide that Monday is the day. We buy the gym gear, we clear out the pantry, and we commit to waking up at 5 a.m. every single day. But by Wednesday, the motivation has evaporated, and we feel like failures. The problem isn't that you are lazy or that you lack discipline. The problem is that you are relying on the wrong fuel. Motivation is a fickle friend. It is a finite resource that rises and falls based on your stress, your sleep, and your mood. If your success depends on how you feel on any given day, you have already lost the game. BJ Fogg, the founder of the Behavior Design Lab at Stanford, spent decades studying why we change and why we stay stuck. His breakthrough is that we have been looking at behavior the wrong way. We treat change like a moral failing, but in reality, it is a design challenge. If you aren't doing the thing you want to do, it's not because you aren't trying hard enough, it's because you haven't designed your life to make that behavior inevitable. Today, we are going to tear down the myth of willpower and replace it with a system that actually works, the B equals MAP formula.
Let's strip away the complexity. If you want to change your life, you need to understand the architecture of human action. BJ Fogg simplified this into one elegant equation: B equals AMP. Behavior, B, occurs when motivation, A, and a prompt, P, converge at the exact same moment. If any one of these elements is missing, the behavior will not happen. Think of it like a three-legged stool. If you take away one leg, the whole thing falls over. Most of us obsess over the motivation leg. We watch motivational videos, we read books, and we try to psych ourselves up to take action. But look at the formula. Motivation is only 1/3 of the equation. If your task is too difficult, meaning your ability is low, even the most intense motivation in the world won't bridge the gap. Conversely, if you have a perfect prompt, but you are exhausted, the behavior won't trigger. To master your habits, you have to stop trying to force the M and start manipulating the A and the P. We are going to stop fighting against our own biology and start leveraging the way our brains are hardwired to function. Let's look at how we turn this theory into something you can actually use before your coffee gets cold. This is where most people get it wrong. We think that big goals require big actions. We think if we want to get fit, we have to run a 5K. If we want to read more, we have to finish a book a week. Fogg's research shows the exact opposite. To build a lasting habit, you need to make the action so tiny, so ridiculously easy that you could do it even on your worst day. This is the ability leg of our equation. By shrinking the behavior, you remove the need for massive willpower. If your goal is to do push-ups, don't start with 50, start with 2. If your goal is to floss your teeth, don't floss the whole set, start with 1, 2. When you make the task tiny, you remove the mental friction that causes procrastination. It is impossible to fail at 2 push-ups. It is easy to fit into the busiest schedule. When the hurdle is on the floor, you don't even have to jump. You just have to step over it. This isn't about being lazy. It is about protecting your success. By starting tiny, you are building the identity of someone who does the thing. And once that identity is established, the growth happens naturally.
You can have all the motivation in the world and all the ability to perform a task, but if you don't remember to do it, nothing happens. This is the prompt. Nothing happens without a prompt. Most people use vague prompts like, "I'll do it later," or "I'll try to do it this afternoon." These are destined to fail because they don't have a specific anchor in time or space. To create a rock-solid habit, you need to use what Fogg calls an anchor. An anchor is an existing routine that is already firmly established in your day, something you do without even thinking, like brushing your teeth, flushing the toilet, or pouring your morning coffee. By piggybacking your new tiny habit onto an existing anchor, you ensure that the prompt is automatic. You don't have to rely on your memory. For example, after I close my laptop at the end of the workday, I will immediately write down my top goal for tomorrow. The closing of the laptop is your anchor. It is a reliable, physical event that triggers the next step. Once you master the art of finding your anchors, you can layer new habits into your life like bricks in a wall, one after another, until your entire day is optimized for success.
Now, let's build your first recipe. The syntax is simple. After I anchor, I will tiny habit. This is the gold standard for behavior design. Let's look at how this applies to different areas of your life. If you want to focus on mental clarity, your recipe might be, after I sit down at my desk, I will take one deep conscious breath. If you want to build a reading habit, after I crawl into bed, I will read one single sentence. Notice that we aren't talking about trying or thinking about it. We are talking about concrete, binary actions. It either happens or it doesn't. When you use this structure, you eliminate the decision fatigue that drains your brain throughout the day. You don't have to negotiate with yourself. You don't have to ask, do I feel like doing this? You simply follow the recipe. This is how you reclaim your agency. You are moving from a state of reactive living, where you respond to impulses and stresses, to a state of proactive design. You are the architect of your own routine. Once you have your after I will formula in place, you are ready for the final piece of the puzzle, which is arguably the most important part of the entire process. This is where people feel the most awkward, but it is also the part you absolutely cannot skip. Fogg calls it shine. When you finish your tiny habit, that single push-up, or that one page of reading, you must celebrate immediately. You can pump your fist, you can smile, or you can say yes in your head. Why does this matter? It isn't just about feeling good. It is about biology. Your brain is wired to repeat actions that lead to positive emotions. By celebrating, you are sending a chemical signal, a hit of dopamine, that tells your brain, that was good. Let's do that again. If you skip the celebration, you are just doing a task. If you add the celebration, you are building a habit. This is the difference between a chore and a neural pathway. Without the emotional feedback loop, your brain doesn't register the behavior as rewarding. But when you consciously inject that feeling of success, you effectively wire the behavior into your subconscious. You are literally building a mental superhighway for your new habit. It feels strange at first, especially if you are a serious person. But remember, we aren't here to be serious. We are here to be effective. If smiling at yourself for 5 seconds after reading one page of a book makes you a person who reads a book a month, then that is the most productive thing you can do. Once you have your tiny habits running, you might be worried that they will stay tiny forever. You might wonder, how do I get to 50 push-ups if I only start with Q? The beauty of the BMAP framework is that it is designed for evolution. Once a habit is firmly established, once it has become automatic, it is incredibly easy to scale. You don't need to force the growth, you just need to allow it. If you have been doing 2 push-ups after your morning coffee for a week, you will eventually find that you have the ability and the motivation to do 3, then 4, then 10. Because the habit is anchored to your morning coffee, it happens without you even needing to think about it. The mistake people make is trying to grow the habit before it is stable. If you try to jump from 2 push-ups to 20 too quickly, you break the system. You reintroduce the friction, you lose the shine, and your motivation will inevitably crash. Be patient. Let the tiny habit become a part of your identity first. Treat it like a plant. You didn't yank a seedling out of the soil to make it grow faster. You give it water and sun and let it take root. When your tiny habit is deep-rooted in your daily routine, it will grow on its own. We have covered a lot today. We talked about why willpower fails, the B equals MAP formula, the power of anchors, and the necessity of celebration. It might sound like a lot, but remember the lesson of the book. Don't try to change your whole life at once. Pick one area, one tiny habit, one anchor. Start today. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for the right mindset. And don't wait for your motivation to kick in. Motivation is a fair weather friend. System design is the foundation of a lifetime. If you found value in this breakdown, I invite you to join our community here at Right Mindset. We dive into these principles every week to help you move from knowing to doing. If you have a specific goal you are struggling with, maybe it's waking up earlier, maybe it's reading more,
Or maybe it's just staying disciplined. Drop it in the comments below. Let's turn it into a tiny habit recipe together. Don't forget to hit the like button if this clicked for you, and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive. Remember, the biggest changes in life don't come from massive heroic leaps. They come from the tiny, consistent steps you take when no one is watching. Start small, celebrate your wins, and watch how your life begins to shift. See you in the next one.